Look around your room right now, the phone in your hand. The soda on your desk, the bank that holds your money. You probably think these are all competing companies fighting for your cash. But if you trace the money all the way up the corporate ladder, the illusion shatters. Almost every major brand on earth is anchored by the exact same top institutional shareholders. State Street, Vanguard, and the undisputed king of Wall Street, BlackRock. BlackRock manages over $10 trillion. That is more wealth than the GDP of every country on earth, except the US and China. But the scariest part is not the money, it is the machine that controls it. A central AI supercomputer named Aladdin. And to understand how this machine quietly conquered the global economy, we have to go back to a massive failure in 1986. In the 1980s, Wall Street was essentially a casino. Traders were making massive bets based entirely on gut feeling and aggressively yelling into landline phones. At the center of this chaos was a young, highly aggressive trader named Larry Fink, working at the investment bank First Boston. Fink was a pioneer of the mortgage-backed security. He was a superstar. By 1986, he had made First Boston over $100 million to his name. But the problem with gut feeling is that it cannot calculate complex mathematical risk. Interest rates suddenly shifted. Because Fink and his team were flying blind without proper risk management software, his massive portfolio completely collapsed. In a single quarter, he lost $100 million and was immediately forced out of the company. That humiliating failure broke Larry Fink, but it also gave him a highly dangerous realization. He realized that the entire global financial system was fragile because nobody actually knew how much risk they were holding. He decided to build a new kind of firm, one that would never rely on human intuition again. A firm where every single trade, every mortgage, and every penny was calculated by a cold, emotionless machine. In 1988, he founded BlackRock. And the first thing they built was the precursor to the world's most powerful financial supercomputer. Welcome to the central nervous system of the global economy. Welcome to Aladdin. Aladdin stands for Asset, Liability, Debt, and Derivative Investment Network. But it is not just a software program. It is a massive network of over 6,000 mainframes, processing billions of economic data points every single millisecond. Its entire existence is dedicated to one thing: calculating absolute risk. If a massive hurricane hits the coast of Florida, Aladdin instantly calculates exactly how that storm will impact the price of orange juice, the stock of roofing companies, and real estate markets in Tokyo. Because it is so terrifyingly accurate, BlackRock doesn't just use Aladdin for themselves. They rent it out to the rest of the world. Before major banks, corporate giants, or even rival asset managers make a multi-billion-dollar trade, they run it through Aladdin's simulation engine first. The supercomputer runs over 50 million highly complex financial stress tests every single day. Because of this, Aladdin currently directs the movement of over $21 trillion. That is roughly 10% of the entire world's financial assets, all flowing through a single, heavily guarded machine. In 2008, the global housing market collapsed, and the United States government panicked. Wall Street banks were holding billions in toxic assets, but nobody knew exactly how toxic they were. The Federal Reserve needed to clean up the mess, but their internal technology was too slow and outdated to calculate the damage. They realized there was only one machine on Earth powerful enough to analyze the global wreckage: Aladdin. The US government quietly hired BlackRock to manage the bailout. It was the exact moment Larry Fink's empire merged with state power. Fast forward to 2020, the pandemic hit and the global markets entered a terrifying freefall. Once again, the Federal Reserve had to print trillions of dollars to stabilize the American economy. But they didn't distribute the money themselves. They called BlackRock and asked Aladdin to do it for them. Without firing a single shot, BlackRock had essentially become the private financial army of the United States government. Think about the choices you make every single day. You choose a Mac over a PC, you choose Coke instead of Pepsi, you choose an iPhone over an Android. It feels like a massive global competition for your hard-earned money, but it is an illusion. If you look at the top institutional shareholders for Apple, you will find BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. If you look at Microsoft, their biggest competitor, the top shareholders are exactly the same: BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. They own the airlines you fly on, the banks that hold your mortgage, and the pharmaceutical companies that make your medicine. They didn't do this by acting like evil supervillains in a secret boardroom. They did it through a boring financial product called an ETF. Instead of picking individual winning stocks, they created massive index funds that bought a small piece of absolutely everything in the market. When millions of regular people put their retirement money into these funds, the Big Three automatically became the largest owners of corporate America. Today, Aladdin connects all of this data. It sees the supply chains, the consumer habits, and the global cash flows in real time. It is no longer just a risk management tool for Larry Fink. It is the operating system of the modern world. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to The Scale Factor.